Hello everyone, my name is Brian and welcome back to Barb's Basement. I wanted to take a break from my usual love letters to Star Wars Legacy and the general Legends continuity and discuss a different topic. Unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you're aware of the rumors floating around that Disney and LucasFilm plan to reset the Star Wars universe, erasing the rich 6-year history of the new canon and totally stripping the sequel trilogy of its canon status. First off, I feel like I need to give a little bit of a disclaimer here. I do not like the sequel trilogy. I grew up during the prequel era and quickly fell in love with the expanded universe, diving deep into the books and later the comics, and when the canon was thrown out, it felt like a close uncle of mine had died, or like the family dog was put down too early. But that being said, the prequels have a ton of issues, and they are by no means perfect movies, which I think a lot of people tend to forget about.
You are so blind! You so do not understand! You weren't there at the beginning. You don't know how good it was, how important. This is it for you, this jumped up firework display of a toy advert. People like you make me sick. What's wrong with you?
The sequels are written like JJ and Ryan hated each other and were just going into each other's offices and throwing each other's notes into a wood chipper. Rey is poorly written, and that is no fault of Daisy Ridley, or any of the other actors for that matter. Seriously, Adam Driver is a treasure and should be protected at all cost. He a wide boy. However, each movie feels like unseasoned meatloaf. While tantalizing and moist on the outside, it is just hollow and somehow dry, yet still wet on the inside. Despite this, these movies succeed despite themselves and still made $1 bajillion and are by no means financial failures by any measures. Just look at all those numbers, there are so many, who can possibly keep track? Okay, now that everyone has calmed down a little bit, we can jump right into it. But first, a quick history lesson as to why people want Disney to reboot the universe and go back to what is now called Legends. Let me take you way back to the year 2014, a year that despite only being 6 years ago, somehow feels like it was 45 years ago. Ebola was hot at the time, Scotland voted against leaving the United Kingdom, and the police shooting in Ferguson prompted nationwide protest.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
What do you mean you've seen this? It's brand new.
But more importantly than all of this, the Star Wars expanded universe was blown up. Poof. Gone. That's right, as of April 25th, 2014, the expanded universe was officially taken back out by Bob Iger and personally beat its brain in with... God damn it. The expanded universe was officially taken out back by Bob Iger personally, and he beat its brains in with a shovel and buried it in an unmarked grave. Disney had purchased Star Wars from a visibly over it George Lucas in 2012 for the whopping sticker price of $4 billion, with $40 million in shares going directly to Lucas. Despite the decades of history, the execs over at Disney decided there was no way they could tell these new Star Wars stories with these pesky books, comics, and games in their way. Some say you can still hear Tad Larkin screaming to this day. This obviously sparked outrage from all of us basement dwellers, and what followed was clickbait listicles talking shit on Star Wars. I'm sure you've all heard the phrases, the expanded universe was 99% garbage, and Legends was never canon to begin with, which is just dumb. Now look, not all Legends was great. I would venture to say that probably 85% of Legends was really good, like pretty good, even great. According to the YouTuber Doomcock, the Star Wars canon is set to be blown up using the world between worlds. Apparently the reason why Daddy Palps looks like a snack of post-digestion Indian food is because the Emperor had a room of mirrors installed on the Death Star. These mirrors gave him access to the world between worlds, which is somewhat backed up by Rebels, where Ezra sees Palpatine accessing this mystical plane of existence. When Palpatine was thrown down the Death Star to his explosive death, he tried to access the world between worlds, leaving him drained, just like Widow Baby Voldemort. The world between worlds first appeared in The Path of the Jedi, episode 10 of Star Wars Rebels. In this episode, Kanan and Ezra are in the Jedi outpost on Lothal. Kanan tells Ezra all about the Jedi Knights and how during the Clone Wars there were tens of thousands of Jedi, and they were all hunted down by the Empire. In Season 4, Episode 13, titled The World Between Worlds, hence where it gets its name, first appears in the same temple. During this episode, we can overhear major events in the Star Wars timeline. We can hear the voices of Ahsoka, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, even Kylo Ren and Rey. So not only does The World Between Worlds give people access to the past, but also the future. This ignited everyone's fan theories, and immediately everyone assumed this was going to undo the current Star Wars canon. Red Letter Media famously made a video speculating that this would be the plot of Episode 9, which actually broke into the mainstream.
Well, you know what they haven't done?
What?
A horrible time travel story.
Oh my god, that is the dumbest thing ever.
So this theory that the world between worlds would be undoing the current timeline isn't exactly new. Fanboys all over the multiverse were foaming at the mouth at the idea that this quote-unquote SJW propaganda would be destroyed. And a quick side note, please, for me and everybody else, stop saying this stuff. It makes us all look like neckbeards who hate women and people of color. Like, for real, you shouldn't be proud that Kelly Marie Tran felt so bullied that she got off social media. According to Doomcock and his anonymous sources, Disney plans to retcon the sequel trilogy through time travel. Someone will go into the world between worlds and they will stop Palpatine from going to Exegol. And according to Doomcock, there's actually evidence of this in Star Wars Episode 9. On the second Death Star, you can actually find Palpatine's mirrors and the super secret powers of the Illuminati, the Freemasons, Q, and even the secret lizard people that control the government were planning it all along.
The media said, we don't understand this. This makes no sense. The most popular of the three prequels. It made total sense. Emperor Palpatine was a little-known senator from Naboo, small planet.
The man that directed the movie, the artists, the scriptwriters, all these different people were completely unaware that these globalists were planning on taking over Lucasfilm. Not only that, they're actually going to throw Kathleen Kennedy into a volcano for crimes against humanity or something. How dare she lead these incredibly successful films and TV shows? Total failure. I am sure Disney is crying all the way to the bank with their Disney Plus money. In the scene where Rey goes to find the Wayfinder, you can see these shiny looking pillars, which look an awful lot like the acid trip scene from Episode 8, where Rey sees multiple versions of herself on Ahch-To. During this scene, she is searching for the truth behind her heritage and who her parents actually are. And in Episode 9, she's confronted with what she may actually become if she gives in to the Emperor. And according to Doomcock, this weird dark side Nexus room is also the Room of Mirrors that gave the Emperor access to what realistically amounts to time travel. This would put the Disney sequel trilogy into sort of an Elseworld timeline. Elseworlds was a term made popular by DC Comics when they wanted to tell different stories, free from canon restraints from the main titles. It's the same thing that Marvel did with the Marvel Ultimates universe, which gave us Miles Morales. The working theory is that the sequels will be given the same treatment. So realistically, this is what sums up this supposed leak. Now, hear me out. This is my theory based off of this totally unproven claim. My theory ever since the World Between Worlds first graced our screens was that they are going to use this as a way to create kind of a parallel universe in Star Wars for us hardcore fans. However, not one single fiber of my being, not even one cell for a single second believes that Disney is going to throw out the sequels. Like, I am 99.99% sure this will absolutely never happen, and it is just wishful thinking on our parts. But I have maintained another theory this whole time. Marvel actually brought back Legends in a small way when they released Star Wars issue 108. This is actually a continuation of a very old Marvel comic book run. I still maintain that most of the Star Wars Marvel stuff from back then is hot garbage, like no good, why continue this nonsense? On top of this, they're also reprinting old Legends books and comics to this day. And I would actually highly recommend picking up the Epic Collections if you want to have a physical copy of old Star Wars comics. My working theory has been they're going to bring back some old Legends authors and artists to create new Legends stories, and Tad Larkin can stop shouting at the sun until it turns supernova and puts us all out of this miserable existence.